And then all that fiat money was coming around and the GDP aspect of it was not really growing in a meaningful way, and they kept stimulating with more of this free money.
As Milton Friedman said, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. If you believe that, you look at the central bank balance sheets exploding right now.
At the same time, governments have enacted record amounts of fiscal stimulus to boost economies stalled by the pandemic. The supply shocks have driven up prices for some goods over the past few months. Yet recent history suggests inflation is more likely to stay low for a long time.
Right. So this exposes the fact that fiat money, the U.S. dollar, is the same as a frequent flyer mile. Right. The airline gives you frequent flyer miles to get you to come and fly more, and they have the ability to, as they're doing now post COVID, rapidly debase them to prompt you to go buy a flight. And in the U.S. economy, they give you trillions of dollars worth of these coupons, U.S. dollars, to cycle into the economy, hoping you're going to spend them. They don't want you to save them, because just like the airlines don't want you to save these frequent flyer miles, they want you to use them to get more into the economy of the airline. And so it really just shows that the fiat money world and the U.S. economy and the global economy is set up purely for corporations, and they print all the fun coupons to allow people to buy the corporate products. And so it's an amusement park. We used to have S&H green stamps when I was a kid. You know, you go to the grocery store and you get these green stamps and you put them in a book. And when you get 100 books, you can buy a toaster, right? It's just it's a gaming currency. Like in the 1990s in the dot-com world, we had lots of gaming currencies, a lot of online games. So what they want to do is they're coming out and they're saying, you know, we're not even going to pretend anymore. We don't want you to save money. You don't have any sovereignty. You don't have any privacy. You don't have freedom of speech. This is a casino gulag. You know, here are your chips, and you go spend them in our casino, but you can't leave the gulag. We're going to survey you. We're going to keep tabs on you. We're going to harass you. We're going to shut down your freedom of speech. No freedom of defense, no sovereignty. We're going to put you in the gulag, in the prison, to shop. You know, the thing is that in an economy like the U.S. right now, you have essentially a demand shock on top of the supply shock. So you had the cheap money provide a supply shock of, a supply of goods. And so they were stacking up. Cars were just stacked up in parking lots. People, there more cars than ever would be bought. And then all that fiat money was coming around and the GDP aspect of it was not really growing in a meaningful way, and they kept stimulating with more of this free money until the point where people they just didn't care anymore. So that became a shock to the system. So the way that they're going to get people to care to buy stuff is by giving the money an expiration date. So, here's $1,000 stimulus check. Here's a $10,000 stimulus check, and it expires in 18 months. You have to spend it now or it expires in 18 months. So, and by the way, here's a list of stuff you can buy. So it's literally like a .com gaming currency where, here's your free virtual money and here's the store where you can buy stuff. And we've got deals with every product in that store. You can't use the money we give you to buy Bitcoin. You can't use it to buy gold. You can't use it to buy anything that's going to appreciate in value unless you subscribe to America Prime. Right? If you're willing to pay an annual fee, America, the subscription model, then you can buy stuff other than what's on our pre-programmed list, right? And so that's, that they're managing everybody like this gaming environment, which is this casino gulag environment. The vast majority, probably over 90% of the population, will be living literally in this virtual gaming environment, just clicking on ads to get protein pills to survive another 5 hours. And that's how most people are going to live. That's how most people live now. And people are saving, particularly the millennials, and because of Bitcoin. So they're not spending, they're saving. And they realize that actually saving makes sense. So, and it doesn't matter now. They can keep pumping more fiat money into it, and they're not going to get people to spend it. So now they're saying that, well, we're going to get, the way we're going to get this you to spend it is we're going to give it an elapse time. We're going to give it a point at which you have to spend it by. It becomes null and void, right? So all the money you make, say all the money you have, it has a time limit, and then it goes like a frequent flyer mile. It's no longer good. You go into your wallet, bank, and it'll say, I know I have $10,000 in there, and you go and you'll say, time out. Got timed out. Doesn't exist anymore. So you won't be able to opt out of the system because the only transactions allowed will be the transactions for things that they put on their official list to spend. So let's say you want to opt out of the system and you want to buy some tools to build a house for yourself. Well, those tools are not on the list, right? So you can't buy them. You have no money. Money's not good. It doesn't work. It only works on their approved list, and that approved list doesn't include the tools in that area to build a house.
Yes.
Right. So that's the gulag, right? You can only be in this house at this time to spend on these things, right? It's a prison. It's a virtual prison, and you cannot leave that prison. Or you can walk out of the prison at any time, but your money's not good. You can't communicate with anybody, and there's no services. The roads aren't being maintained. It's Mad Max world out there. But you're welcome to step into the Mad Max world at any time. But it's a hellhole. Or you can stay in the prison, and here's your money, and here's the list of stuff you can buy with your money, and here's the time in which you must spend that money on these things before the money goes to zero. And at that point, you may the walls around you in the prison cell disappear, and now you're in the wasteland. Right? So the walls are disappearing. As the money is shrinking, is expiring, the walls are, crumbling. So that to remind you that you need to spend quickly, because if you don't spend this fast, you're going to be in the wasteland. And so it's, very Matrix-like, the movie Matrix. It's very much like that, where
yes,
there's essentially we're in a virtual prison. So, okay, this has taken a leap into another kind of confrontational era, if you will. And the bad guys are the central banks, as we've been saying now for almost 20 years. Those are the bad guys. It's not China. It's not Russia. It's not, it's the central banks, the global central banks versus everybody else. And Bitcoin is the anecdote, and countries like El Salvador figured that out, and they've made it legal tender. And so we see the battle emerging, and this is the 36 months is going to be key. It's going to be crucial. And that, I guess, that getting back to Elon, that's where it's frustrating. Like, he shows flashes of brilliance, kind of, it's like the raisins in a very bland rice pudding, right? Most of what he says is just very bland and innocuous, inane dribble. And then there's a raisin here and there. It's like a little flash of brilliance, like, oh, yeah, the government is a giant corporation. And then you're like, okay, tell me more. But now he's off giggling about, having whatever. And so he's not helpful in any way. It would probably be more helpful if he just shut up. But, like, that's why we say fuck Elon. Like, if you're not going to really take this seriously, then shut the fuck up. We don't need you. Just, we don't even know where your loyalties are. We don't know where the fuck you are.